What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So I don't really know why I did this, but for some reason, after I finished watching the game today, I had gone to go get lunch shortly after, and when I came back, I just forgot to do the review. So it's now later, a lot later. So I just want to go ahead and put that out there in case I look tired or if I start yawning. That's wise, because for some reason I waited way too long to do this review. But as far as the game is concerned, I mean, it was a fairly straightforward performance. First half was a little frustrating, a little slow. Second half, it got a little bit more easy. Once we scored, it really opened up the play and allowed us to move the ball a lot easier and not as much pressure and not as tight defensively either from Palace. But, I mean, all in all, it's another final we're going to. As far as Tuchel's decisions today, the lineup was a little questionable. I don't really like Jorginho in there. I don't really like Christensen in there. Everything else was okay, but also it's kind of weird because I did want to see some rotation because we did just play a very difficult game in Madrid. And so I did want to see a little bit of rotation. However, the rotation that he did honestly are players that I didn't necessarily want to see. Azpilicueta coming on, I did want to see. But then aside from that is Jorginho and Christensen, and those are players I don't really want to see. So I wanted to see a little bit more change up top, maybe bring Ziyech on, maybe give a chance for Pulisic, although after his performance in Madrid, not really looking forward to that. But I did want to see Ziyech get a start. And again, I did want to see Azpilicueta come on. I would have liked to see Chalobah. I don't know why he wasn't even on the bench today. I didn't see anything about an injury report for him. So I don't know what's going on with him, but the fact that he's not featuring is very disappointing considering how good he's been this season. So there must be something, injury or illness or something along those lines, because performance-wise, I don't see any reason why he's not playing. But then the subs in the second half are what Tuchel did well today. I thought he brought on good changes. Kovacic having to go off injured was unfortunate. Loftus-Cheek came on. Kind of, it was either going to be Loftus-Cheek or Conte, and based on Conte's end of his performance against Madrid, I could see why he went with Loftus-Cheek today, because Conte did look tired by the end of the game. But then in the second half, once it got to that point where we were in the lead and it was a lot easier for us to play, that's when he made some subs. Conte for Jorginho to provide a little bit more energy. Lukaku for Havertz, just kind of a like for like in a way because they both have height and they both like to just receive the ball and try. I don't know. I don't really like Lukaku right now, so I don't want to say it's like for like, but the way that he has Havertz playing at the moment, it is kind of a like for like sub. And then Ziyech came on for Mount, and that's just a little bit more creativity injected in there. And then the last one was Silva for Christensen, which I don't know if it was because of the mistake Christensen made late on, because there was a moment where he turned right into pressure inside the box and nearly gave away a goal. So I don't know if that was the decision or if he just wasn't really liking his performance throughout the game. It was like, what, let's just bring on some consistency, a little bit more calmness in Silva. But I didn't mind that switch at all. It's funny because whenever I talk to my dad about this stuff, he's the type of coach that he doesn't want to make a sub based on bad mistakes. I'm the type of person who, if I see it, if it's a mistake from somebody who's made a lot of mistakes, I'm going to make that sub. So when he made the mistake and we see Silva is about to come on, we're debating who it's going to be for. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I hope it's for Christensen. Because, he's been today, and then that mistake was kind of, in my opinion, something that makes me worried about how he's going to end the game. And my dad's like, no, you don't sub him after a mistake like that. And then ultimately he did. So I guess it's just sort of up in the air whether you want players to learn from their mistakes or you want players to, I guess, get punished for their mistakes. I don't really know if I call it a punishment, but you don't want to leave on a player that's constantly causing trouble, for your own team. So just kind of an interesting debate to be had there, depending on the style and the mentality of coaching. But as far as the overall game is concerned, though, like I said, first half not great, a little slow. Palace really packed it in, so it was difficult to play as well. But we just didn't move the ball around very well, and it was very kind of lackadaisical. Palace did see a lot of the ball in the first half as well compared to the second half where they were sitting in a lot more. And it just, a lot of that came down to we didn't have any ideas. We didn't have any connectivity between the defense and the attack. So it was hard to watch at times because it didn't really feel like we had much going for us. So as far as the individuals are concerned that led to this, first of all, Mendy in goal. Didn't really have... Did he have a save to make? I'm trying to remember. He did have the one in the first half. Kouyaté through bodies, good save down to his left. So he did have that one save, and that, I mean, honestly, that save keeps us in the game because if they score that goal, it becomes a lot more difficult for us to get one back in the second half because they're going to sit even more. If the, when we don't give up that goal, that basically means that they're going to still be sitting, but they're going to break when they have the chance. So there's still that chance for us to win it when they're trying to break and hit back at them, which is kind of what happened ultimately. So good save from him. Aside from that, he just had to be good with his feet and did that for the most part today. James was on the right side of the defense today. It's kind of interesting to see with Azpilicueta and James both on the field. He went with James as the right center back and Azpilicueta as the right wing back. Ultimately, I think the decision was made because they knew the pace of Zaha down that side was going to be a bit of a worry if Azpilicueta was in there. Now, that being said, I think Azpilicueta is a smart enough defender that he knows where to position himself so he doesn't have to worry about that pace. However, with that being said, James, I thought, did very well to contain Zaha today. His pace is something that he's really shown over the past few games. He had to go up against Vinicius in the last game and handled him for the most part pretty well. So, yeah, to see that he was back there definitely showed multiple times why that was a good decision on Tuchel's part. And then on the ball, I wanted to see a little bit more from him, and I know he's not going to get in the attack as much from center back, but still there were moments when I felt like he had a chance to really send in that dangerous ball that he's well known for doing. But I just feel like he wasn't really doing that much today, and the crosses that he did have weren't the best. They weren't up to, I think, his standard, in my personal opinion. So kind of a hit or miss game, but for the most part, he was good defensively, and that's really what we needed from him today. Christensen, kind of an up and down game. I mean, there were some moments when he did well. He read the play well. I think this is his best position. If he's going to stay at the club, I prefer to see him here. Because I think when he's at the right or left of a three-back system, he just doesn't really know how to position himself. He doesn't know how to read the play. Oftentimes he gets caught stepping out. When he's in the center of a back three, I think he's a lot more comfortable because he can sit a bit deeper and he doesn't have to worry about stepping and winning it because he just has to be that last line of defense. So if the ball goes over the top, all he has to do is just read that and make the run to it. Now that being said, his pace can let him down at times, but for the most part, he knows how to read that play pretty well. However, there were still some moments where he gets caught stepping out because, Rudiger or James had stepped up or had gone over to pressure somebody, and so he's the one stepping in to win the ball. And it just feels like there are times when he should be stepping and he doesn't, or times when he shouldn't be stepping and he does. And 50% of the time, I would say he makes the wrong decision in either of those cases. So, I don't know. Again, when I watch him, I don't think he's got a future here. I don't think he's going to be a fantastic defender that's going to lead us to victory. I worry about the gaps in his game that he has. With Rudiger, the gaps in his game, I don't feel like I worry about as much because any gaps he can cover with his athleticism. With Christensen, the gaps in his game, he doesn't have that much athleticism to cover up for. So I worry that he's really going to struggle, and especially you look at some of the top teams that we're going to face. I worry he's going to struggle in those games, and I think we saw it in the first leg against Real Madrid. He really struggled against Vinicius. He had no answer to what was going on because he's just that slow and that poor at reading it. So, I don't know. Again, when I look at what we sold as well, I just don't see why we sold them and kept Christensen or, Sarr. Just defenders that are not really going to cut it at the Premier League level, at the top of the Premier League. They might be good mid-table Premier League, maybe Sarr I've already talked about. Maybe he could have been good in the championship, but then after seeing his championship performance against Middlesbrough and against Luton, probably better in League One. Actually, no, Luton is League One, isn't it? I don't remember now. But whatever the case, I'm not here to talk about Sarr. But yeah, I thought the mistake that he made at the end of the game, though, Christensen, it was kind of the final straw in a very topsy-turvy game for him. So again, I don't really want to see him play anymore. And I know you have to have some rotation because you can't play the same back three every single game. But I would rather have tired leg defenders. Or again, I mean, I don't know why Chalobah's not being looked at. I don't know why he's not being involved. Something's got to be going on there. So if anybody watching this knows what's going on with Chalobah, please let me know because I didn't hear anything about this game. But anyways, on to Rudiger. Solid performance from him overall. Did get into a couple stupid moments because he still has that side of him occasionally where he wants to get a little rough or he wants to, start shoving or I don't know. It just that mentality. I get it, and I know some people love to have that type of player. I've just never been one of those people that enjoys that type of player that wants to rile up the other team and wants to get them all heated and I don't know. I'm not that type of person, and I was never that type of player either. I was always the type of player, kind of a not really a Spilicueta, no, more like a Silva, honestly. Just very quiet, does the job, doesn't get involved in a lot of stuff. Maybe yell at the referee if he makes a stupid decision, but I'm not the type of player that would go out there and just like, yeah, I'm gonna hit you and get you mad at me, so then you come back and hit me, and then you get carded for it. I thought those type of players were really dumb, and I hated dealing with them. I hated them when they were on my team. So Rudiger has that side of his game, and it frustrates me whenever he gets into that mood where he's doing silly stuff. So that's just my personal opinion, but his performance today overall was very solid, very good. Didn't really have too many issues with his defensive performance today. Spilicueta on the right side. Honestly, a little quiet today. I normally expect a little bit more out of him. I know he's not the best attacking player, and I mean that one where he tried to go have like a half volley when it was up at his chest almost. I mean that kind of shows he's not an attacking player, but he's still such a hard worker that typically, even if he's not finishing very well, he's still very involved in our attack because of how much he moves and how much work he puts in. But today it felt like he was a little bit quieter, and I don't know if he's still recovering because I know he went out injured for the past couple. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, for his standard of performance, I thought it was pretty low today. Alonso on the left side, after a really good game in Madrid, was okay today. Not really as involved and as effective as he was in Madrid, but still a good performance. And I'm glad to see that he's starting to step up a little bit. It's kind of ironic because we needed him to step up a while ago, and he really didn't, when Chilwell went out injured. And now that Chilwell's on the recovery trail, I think he's back in training, so there's a chance he could be involved maybe in the next month or so. And now Alonso starts to step up again. I'm like, oh, so now that there's a chance you could lose your spot, now you're actually giving us something. And I don't know, I hate that mentality because I'm just like, you're here to do a job. You're here to work. You're getting paid, so you should go out there and bust it every game. But some players just sort of go out there and just, I'll cruise through this one. And that's kind of what it felt like Alonso's been doing for a while. But the past few games, I thought he's looked a lot better. And that's good to see because we needed him to be. In the midfield, Kovacic, obviously, unlucky who went out early. And honestly, that kind of hurt us the most in the first half. Because without Kovacic in there, Loftus-Cheek can be a creative influence. He can get on the ball and make things happen like Kovacic does. But Kovacic just does it a lot better and a lot more consistently than Loftus-Cheek does. So when he went out, there was definitely a feeling of our midfield is lacking right now. And that's why, we were so stuck in our backfield because it was constantly just passing it around the back. And if we did get into the midfield, there's constant pressure and Jorginho's too slow. Loftus-Cheek, again, can turn out of that pressure, can do something with it, but still a little bit young, still a little bit naive, and not consistent enough in doing it to really affect the play. So there were just a lot of times that we were constantly going backwards, and then we just dump it long. And Palace were ready for that, and they were ready to win the ball because we don't have a whole lot of height up there. And I mean, honestly, the front three, very solid front three. We saw it in the past 2 games, how good they can be. But we couldn't really get the ball up to that front three, and it starts from those 2 in the midfield. So Kovacic was doing it a little bit at the beginning, but once he went off, it really felt like we just didn't have much of anything going for us in the midfield. Jorginho, again, another Jorginho performance. For some people, they may look at this and go, "Oh, I can't believe you played poorly today." For me, this is just standard Jorginho. This is what I expect to see out of him. Slow, losing the ball in the midfield, passes aren't connecting, constantly going backwards, constantly going side to side instead of anything progressive. That's Jorginho. So, yeah, I mean, it was an average performance for him, but compared to everybody else in the team, his average is way down here. I just don't like seeing him, but I get the fact that you need to rest Conte because Conte looked tired in the last game. As far as Loftus-Cheek is concerned, coming on earlier in the first half, I thought first half again grew into it a little bit, but still just not quite. I don't know what it is about Loftus-Cheek because some games again he looks like he can play at this top level. Honestly, there was a moment in the second half that really just showed where his quality is because he picked it up, challenge came in, he turned him, and he's gone. And I don't remember the player that challenged him. It may have been MacArthur, but I mean, just had no answer for it. I mean, as soon as Loftus-Cheek turned him, he was past him and he was gone. I swear, Loftus-Cheek on the ball is faster than Loftus-Cheek not on the ball. I don't know why that is, but he just looks so much faster with the ball, and he makes things happen with it from time to time. So second half really showed a lot more of his quality. First half, I don't know if because he wasn't up to the speed of the game, I don't know if it was he didn't really know what he was doing. Second half, it did seem also that it became much more of a midfield 3 with Mount and Loftus-Cheek doing more box-to-box and Jorginho holding deep. So maybe that helped Loftus-Cheek a bit more as well because he didn't have to sit a bit deeper like he normally does in the midfield too. But yeah, I thought his second half performance far outshowed his first. As far as the front 3 is concerned, also all 3 of them, first half non-existent, not really giving us much, but then second half was a lot better for most of them. And it just, again, I don't really fully blame them for it because I think we were kind of hindered because of the fact that we had to change a midfielder and we didn't have a whole lot of connectivity to get it up to those front 3. I would have liked to see a little bit more of what they were doing up there, though, because there are times when we are knocking around in the back, and oftentimes you look at that and you go, why aren't you guys playing it forward? Sometimes it is down to there's not enough movement, but because you've got Werner and Mount up front, I would expect that there is a lot of movement because they both tend to move quite a bit in the game. So I would have liked to seen what was going on up there, whether they were just being really well tracked or if they just weren't moving enough. But whatever the case, first of all, talk about Mount. I think once he started getting a bit deeper and trying to help out, receiving the ball deeper and making something happen, that's when he started to really grow into the game a lot more. And just, yeah, I mean, overall his second half performance was really much more influential, and even before he got subbed, I mean, he just provided so much in that second half, the goal included. So, yeah, I think he's really come into his form recently. He's really shown what he can do because his work rate has not dropped this season, but his finishing is really what's caused his form to drop off this season for the most part. But recently he's found that scoring form again, and that's why a lot of people are starting to praise him again because that's what we expect. We expect him to be the finisher of a lot of these moves. So good to see for him. Werner as well, also finding a good bit of form. Honestly, it's funny because his work rate has been phenomenal pretty much since he's come in. But it's not even just the missed shots that he's had. It's also, I feel like sometimes his passes and his crosses don't come off as well either. So I feel like those two combined are really what's caused so much criticism to be thrown his way. Because it's not just, oh, he had a wide open shot and he missed. It's also, he received the ball behind the defense, and all he's got to do is find that pass across, and his touch takes it out of bounds, or he tries to cut it back on the defender and the defender pokes it off of him. So I feel like that's also been a criticism leveled at him, which is, it's fair. I get why that's frustrating. Me personally, I just enjoyed having him out there because even when he wasn't on the ball, honestly, when he wasn't on the ball is when he was at his best because his runs are so dangerous. And honestly, again, today, something I talked about against Real, when he's in the middle, when he starts in the middle, I feel like that's when he's at his most dangerous because there are times he does slide out wide, he does tend to make runs out wide, but the difference is when he starts from out wide, all the defense has to do is just essentially send their right center back or their full back out there to mark him. So there's not a whole lot of shifting going on. When he starts in the middle though and he makes that darting run out wide, like that cross and in behind, it's so much more confusing for the defense. Now it's, oh, I got to pass him on to you, or I got to go track him myself, and that means somebody's got to come in for me. So there's a lot more movement going on in the defense when he makes the runs from inside to out instead of just from outside to out. So I feel like that's something Tuchel, he doesn't do it all the time, and we saw it against Real Madrid a lot, I thought. And then today didn't start that way. He started out on the left with Havertz in the center, but slowly, I don't know when it changed. I don't know who changed it, whether Tuchel told him, hey, go and be in the middle, make your runs, or if he just decided and he and Havertz sort of switched it up a little bit. But I feel like those moments when he starts in the center, that's when he really starts to look dangerous, and that's when the defense is at its most vulnerable. So, but yeah, overall, though, his performance, again, first half, not very involved. Second half, though, very involved, getting on the ball, making things happen. His runs, a lot more effective, too. He's not getting the ball poked off of him as easily. It's happening a lot less frequently. And I feel like that's something that's it's garnered some praise for him because he's needed some praise, honestly. He's come under so much criticism and so much fire. I'm glad he is starting to get some praise for the work he's been putting in and for how effective he's been in the past few games as well. And I hope he can continue it on too because we need his effectiveness going forward. Havertz is the final one, and he's probably the only one that I thought didn't improve that much in the second half. He was more involved for sure, but I feel like he still wasn't really providing us much. And maybe it is a bit of legs because he's been playing a whole hell of a lot recently, but it definitely seemed like he was not really up to the pace of the game for a majority of the match. And there were several moments where he got on the ball and I'm expecting him to make something happen, and the defender just easily sort of picks it off of him. Now, granted, I think he's the one that poached the ball to send it across to Loftus-Cheek for the first goal, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, that one moment doesn't really negate all of the other moments where I feel like he could have done a lot more and should have done a lot more. So, but kind of like how, when Jorginho has a good performance, I don't suddenly say he's a fantastic player. Just because Havertz had one bad performance, I'm not going to say, oh, I can't believe he's not a good player anymore. I think this is just one bad performance. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he gets rested midweek, maybe he doesn't and steps it up. But I do wonder if maybe giving him a bit of a rest will help because he definitely looks a lot less influential today. As far as the subs that came on, though, so Conte, Lukaku, and Ziyech all came on at the same time. Conte looked okay, still doesn't quite look the same, and I know he's fasting for Ramadan. Somebody mentioned that, so I don't know if that's still going on, if it is, if that's affecting his play overall, because he definitely looks very tired by the end of the Real game, and today just didn't look quite the same ball of energy that I'm used to seeing. I mean, still much more energy than Jorginho, because Jorginho is a slug, but I think because I hold Conte to such a high standard, he's not quite there right now. So I'm hoping he can find that form again soon. Ziyech tried to make some things happen quality-wise. Maybe could have been a little bit better. But also taking into account the fact that he's not really playing a whole lot right now, I feel like he's got to get back into a good run of games. And I hope Tuchel does give him time because we have a lot of games coming thick and fast. So I would like to see Ziyech incorporated a lot more because while that front three of Mount, Havertz, and Werner is very good. I feel like Ziyech can also provide something a little different, maybe a little flair in there. And you don't play those three every single match because eventually they're going to get worn out. So I would like to see him incorporate Ziyech a little bit more and give him some time to grow into the team and find those crosses that we've seen him put in so many times that are so effective as well. And then Lukaku had a couple moments that made me go, okay, so he's not completely useless, but then also had a couple moments that go, okay, so he's mostly useless though. The two moments that I'm thinking of for both, first one for him being not completely useless, is there was a moment that ball gets sent up and he's basically one-on-one with the defender as the ball's coming in the air, and he does do a good job of holding him off, using his body and his strength, taking a touch and trying to make something happen. However, there was another moment, and this actually might have happened shortly after, but I just remember Werner is making a run, Lukaku's making a run with him, and I think it was like Werner tried to take it outside of the defender and then cut it inside, and it was a moment where he cuts inside and the defender coming from behind pokes it behind the defense, and Lukaku, as he's seeing that Werner's decided to take it inside instead of pass him the ball, is slowing up his run, and you can see he's pulling up. Like, he's done. He's not making his run anymore. He sees Werner's dribbling instead of laying it off to him, and he's like, okay, well, I guess I'm done. I'm not needed anymore because he's going to do it all himself, and if he's not going to use me, then I'm not going to play anymore. And in that moment, ball gets poked behind. If Lukaku's still making the run, the defense, they're squared up. I mean, they're facing away from their goal. They're not going to be able to turn and get back in the time that it takes Lukaku if he's still on his run to get in behind them and get on that ball. But because he's decided he's done, the ball doesn't go anywhere. And it trickles harmlessly to another defender. He picks it up, no problem. Lukaku is standing there, slouched shoulders. So, yeah, again, not completely useless because he had a good moment, but also mostly useless because he showed he's still not willing to continue working past his first initial run. That he wants to make this run, and if this run doesn't work, well, then that's all you're getting out of him. And that's why Werner is so much more useful as a striker, because he will make continuous runs. Even if the first run doesn't work out, he'll change it, or if he loses the ball, he'll work to win it back. It's not what I see out of Lukaku. So... and then Silva, I mean, just sort of came on for the last few minutes to clean it up. And one thing he did provide that I don't think Christensen necessarily wasn't doing, but for some reason for Silva, he makes it look so much more simple, is that calming nature in the back on the ball. Because Christensen, his distribution is pretty solid as well. Like, I rarely see him make a poor pass. Occasionally he'll make a couple iffy ones, but for the most part he makes solid passes, keeps possession well, distributes pretty well. But Silva, he does it just as well, but he also looks so calm that I don't ever get worried when he's on the ball. Because it's just, I don't know what it is about it. I guess it's just his body stance. I don't know. His demeanor, though, just looks so much more calm and collected. So he's under pressure, and it's just a simple knock it out wide. With Christensen, he's under pressure, and it's like I don't know, it looks like he's a little bit hurried, like he's trying to decide what to do. Silva, it's like he already decided what he was going to do 2 minutes ago when the ball comes back to him. He's like, oh, we're at this point now? All right, I already saw this coming, and then knocks it out. I don't know what it is about it, but I'm going to be really sad when he leaves because he's honestly become one of my all-time favorite Chelsea defenders right alongside Terry. And that's very hard to do in such a short amount of time. I mean, he's only been here, 2 years? And he's already become one of my favorite defenders just because of how calm and collected and intelligent he looks as a defender. Because, again, I prefer my defenders to play intelligently. I don't tend to like the Van Dijks and the Rudigers that aren't the smartest defenders but have a whole lot of athleticism and can work back and win it and they're just strong. I prefer more your Thiago Silva is the ones that can read the game well, and they don't have to be the most athletic because they've already put themselves in the right position and they've won the ball, and boom, we're good. So yeah, I'm glad we have him, but yeah, like I said, didn't have a whole lot to do. But yeah, on to the final, a chance to rectify our mistakes in the Carabao Cup final. I really, really hope that it doesn't go to penalties again, because I know for a fact that they're gonna do the Kepa thing again. Like, I know for a fact that's what's gonna happen. So I'm hoping at this point we just don't ever go to penalties again. Or at least just get rid of Kepa, so if we do go to penalties, we'll just be like, all right, we'll trust Mendy in goal. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the final, but we've got a big match on Wednesday, a chance to pull ahead because a lot of those teams below us just can't seem to put together a good run of games, so this is our chance to gain 3 points on most of them and 6 points on Arsenal, so let's do it. Let's not do the stupid thing where Arsenal's on a terrible run of form and we're on a good run of form and we throw the match because we're idiots. Let's not do that, because that tends to happen against Arsenal in particular. That anytime Arsenal's in a bad run of form and we're in a good run of form and we face them, they end up winning, and then they go on like a great run of form, and suddenly now they're 6 matches completely like perfect. So yeah, just fingers crossed. Just don't screw this up. But anyways, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game today? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.